Henry Fonda and this 14-year-old boy, Billy, go out fishing. It gets dark, and they're trying to get back out of this rocky cove, and the boat crashes, and Henry Fonda and the boy get thrown into the water, and they swim and hang on to a rock and survive. Well, that scene, I think, probably was the most difficult I've had to do, because Henry Fonda was 76 years old with one lung and a pacemaker. Everybody's very concerned for his health. He's very game. He did whatever was required, but we were all afraid that something awful would happen. He had to go into the water twice. And the second time had to be at magic hour, because Katherine Hepburn summoned the boatman, and they've got a running light, and she's got a flashlight, a torch, and they're looking for them. And so it's got to be almost dark. We're on a raft in the middle of a lake, 2 cameras and a battery pack of lamps. And in the script, the boat is supposed to draw alongside the rock. And Henry Fonda says to Kate,
"You shouldn't be out here this time of night."
When we discussed the scene, Kate Hepburn said, "Why don't I see them with the flashlight from a distance and then take off my coat and dive into the water and swim to the rock?" And I thought, what a fantastic idea. But there'll only ever be one take. And so all of this had to be set up. We had 2 cameras on the raft. She did it. She was perfect. It worked. But when you're right on the edge like that with film, you don't really know until the next day if you got it right or not. What we wanted was this feeling of being on holiday, on vacation, as the Americans say, in this beautiful place. Well, I had a good preparation time, and I met Mark Rydell for the first time, and he'd worked with Vilmos Zsigmond quite a lot, and Vilmos was quite experimental in his approach, and sometimes he would force develop and sometimes he would add filters and so on. Before we started, he said, "Well, I think we ought to filter this a little bit to kind of soften the image." And I disagreed with him. I said, "Well, I don't think we should. We've got an old couple here. We should let them look their age. He's supposed to be 80, he was 76. She was 72. Let them be their age." But he didn't agree with me entirely. And so we started filming with the lowest low contrast Tiffin filter. And we were shooting on the lake. And on the lake, when you're looking into the light, even with the polar screen on, you get tremendous reflections off the water. And when we first saw the first rushes, I could see that this filter was giving us a problem because it just enhanced the flare too much, even the light, this very light filter. And I said, "Well, I don't think this filter works." So he agreed with me that we should take it off. And that's what we did. So there were only a couple of scenes at the beginning with this filter. Otherwise, I just used a polar screen all the time that we were on the water to cut down reflections and tried to match the light. But otherwise, he was very understanding about matching light and would wait perhaps a few minutes if we had to. It's not something that people always want to do, but if you finish up with a sequence where the weather and the patterns are changing so much, it loses its believability, so that trying to match light is one of the challenges that we have, and goes with the job. This is a real house on the lake, and we had dusk scenes and night scenes. And so instead of drawing the curtains, I thought, let's put filters on the windows so that as it gets to dusk, the light goes from being bright and overexposed outside to being blue and underexposed. So I had filter packs made up of neutral density, and I just put them on the windows on the outside. So I could turn daylight into dusk, and then with a bit more filtering, I could turn it into night through the window, so that even at night you could still just see a little bit of sparkle on the water. And I thought, well, this gives much more feeling of actually being on location rather than being in a studio with all the curtains. So we always had the curtains open. Sure. It was just an extra dimension. Didn't have consistent weather. No, there's a saying in New Hampshire, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. And so we would wait 5 minutes. The problem was when it rained, because we couldn't shoot outside, and we thought, well, we'll go inside and shoot, but you could hear the rain on the roof. So there were a few times when we had to wait. But we still finished on schedule. The script had sort of travelling scenes through the countryside, which are the title backgrounds. But during this period of preparation that I had, I looked around and I found this wonderful spot from high up in the mountain of the sunrise. And so I said to Mark Rydell, I think there's possibly a very good opening scene here. And he said, well, go off and do it. So I just went with a grip and a camera assistant. And we built a platform, and I put a 300mm lens on and started looking down where the lake was dark and you could just see a little bit of sparkle in the water. And then as you pan up and pan up and pan up, you see the whole of the sunrise reflected in the lake. It was all reflected light from the lake. And I thought, well, it's a bit literal, but this is on Golden Pond. And then I held the shot and then tilted down slowly for the end titles, and that was all used. I think you need to engage the audience from the first shot. It's very easy when you're in a very beautiful place to overdo it a bit with the composition and the colours and so on. So we tried not to do that and to stay with the drama. And of course the actors were so well prepared. And I had done one film previously with Katherine Hepburn, which was filmed at Pinewood, the Glass Menagerie. That was all in the studio. So I knew what she was like. I'll tell you what happened on the first day. We were all ready. We'd rehearsed the scene, the camera was set up. First shot of the day, first shot of the movie. And we were waiting for Miss Hepburn. And she came on the set in an absolutely stunning outfit. And she looked like Coco Chanel. And she came on and she said, right, let's go, I'm ready, let's shoot. And the director, Mark Rydell, said, but Kate, this isn't your costume. I said, yes, this is fine, this is what I want to wear. There then developed the biggest argument I've ever seen on a film set. Miss Hepburn's language would have made Sergeant Major blush. And it was all directed towards Mark Rydell, the director. She just went for him in front of everybody. And he stood his ground. And in the end, she said, right, show me what you want me to wear. We went to a cabin where all the wardrobe was. And we chose something that she should have been in the first place. When you come away on location, you don't put your best clothes on. On the way back from the location in the car with Mark, he said to me that George Cukor, who directed so many of these Hepburn Tracy films, he said, George Cukor warned me, she'll test you on the first day. What a test. After that, she would never talk to Mark about wardrobe. She always came to me, you see. And she came to me with this red cardigan, which I wasn't very keen on. She said, oh, why don't you like it? She said, it's a beautiful colour. And I said, well, it's a bit bright, Kate. And she said, haven't you ever seen any of the French Impressionist paintings? And I said, yes. And she said, well, they've always got a little bit of red in them, haven't they? And I said, yes, and your eye goes straight to it. That's exactly what I want, she said.